Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been over a month since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and of course, that has had a ton of noise since its beginning, since it happened. And every time you turn around, something different or new or a conspiracy theory comes up as to why he was killed, who killed him, what, etc., etc. So one of the growing positions is that the rifle that was shot and the bullet caliber that was shot would have it had been impossible for it not to have had an exit wound. So, what are typically Christians within his camp suggesting? And mind you, I'll say this up front. I am absolutely against what happened to this young man, as I would not want this to happen to any of my foes or my friends. And so golden rule is how I see this, and I'm not a fan of at all what happened. But I do want to discuss the belief side of this, and that they have cognitively turned a absolutely horrific thing into a miracle. Yes, it is now considered a miracle. So let's hear it from them real quick. And as we continue, please subscribe, like the video, share it, so you're here for our reactions. I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm going to give it to you from my own perspective and keep it honest. Let's see what happens. First video we'll be addressing is Charlie Kirk stopping bullet, a life-saving miracle. So, Turning Point USA spokesman, News Nation Prime. Here we go.
Also, Kelly, we're hearing Charlie Kirk's organization is revealing new details surrounding his death. What are they saying about this?
Yeah, I wanted to get to that. There is a new post out from the executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, TPUSA spokesperson Andrew Colvett, and he wanted to post this. He said he spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital, and they were talking about the exit wound. So Colvett was saying that there was no exit wound. We are still waiting to confirm this with the hospital.
So listen to how it's written. The fact that there wasn't an exit wound is probably another miracle. And I want people to know, in the end, the coroner did find the bullet just beneath the skin. Even in death, Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. I want you to swallow this pill for me. This is a big one, but I'm going to keep it as blunt and as straightforward as possible. If any miracles were involved in this, Charlie would not have been shot. No deaths would have occurred. The person who was attempting to make the kill would have turned themselves in. Something like that, you know, even that's not a miracle, but it's like the dude was completely embarrassingly assassinated and killed in front of millions of hundreds of billions of people on the planet. Let's keep it real. There's like 8 billion people. Billions of people on this planet have seen some form of what happened to Charlie Kirk. News spread literally worldwide, everywhere, China, you name it. And you're going to say there's a miracle here because a bullet didn't have an exit wound, therefore claiming anyone behind him was saved by the body of Charlie. So when he was killed, you're calling this a miracle is insane. If a miracle happened, he wouldn't be dead. People do this all the freaking time, and it's sad to me how you've turned literally something of an atrocity into a miracle. Now imagine it wasn't just assassination, and it was some really disgusting sexual behavior by some criminal, cannibal, something crazy. And someone said, the miracle is she was the last person he ate. And because he got full off of her, he didn't eat the next people, which gave the cops enough time to catch him. What a miracle. It's insanity to me. But we're going to get into the forensic stuff a little bit. I want to play a few clips by some people who believe, of course, and think that it's impossible. And, of course, I want to read a text from my own father, who's a retired Green Beret in the Special Forces, And he's just hip firing it, right? And I'm sure if he watches this video, Dad will see the meticulous carefulness I'm bringing to the table here, because if anyone knows what it's like to shoot a weapon and to be in combat situations, hunting situations, I know that my father has, and he has a lot of friends who are hunters and stuff too. And they all have the same kind of hunch, naturally, that a 30-06 would go through the neck, right? And so it gets into the weeds of, would a bullet that goes to the neck that hit the spinal cord potentially stop or bounce around within the body and not have an exit wound? How powerful of a caliber, how powerful of a weapon is this that it didn't have an exit wound, which a lot of people are interpreting, meaning that there's another secret going on. Someone shot him with a different kind of weapon or some other explanation. And if it's true, looking at this Andrew Colvett screenshot here, that the coroner did find the bullet and it was a 30-06, and it seems that is, then the best way I can put it is, if the bullet was still in his body, then somehow, physically, the bullet hit and it didn't leave his body. I know it may seem odd to most who think this is a powerful weapon. There's no way it could have not gone through. It didn't go through if that's the case. You don't need to then posit a whole nother hypothesis if the coroner says, hey, we've got a 30-06 round here in his body we found. It didn't exit. That's why they're calling it a miracle. So let's pay attention real quick as this wraps up. I want to go show you some of these videos from people who are saying, yeah, we believe it, and look how impossible that is to... Let's talk a little bit more careful about science. Check it out.
He said he spoke with a surgeon who worked on Charlie. He said the bullet absolutely should have gone through, but it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. He said, quote, it was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed. They did find the bullet just beneath the skin, he says, and even in death, he finishes, that Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. So that was just posted within the last hour. We wanted to make sure we shared that with you as well, Natasha.
So it's a way of, in my opinion, it's like a way of glorifying the hero even further after they're gone. And clearly he's become a hero. Look, you've turned him into a martyr. I mean, the guy was speaking on things, and for speech, he was killed, and you're not allowed to talk. This is the message that's being given, is we're not allowed to speak. Our lives are in danger if we talk. And, I talk about a lot of critical things, and if this nation turned into a Christian national, nation where laws were implemented against people like me who don't believe or who are critical and skeptical and doubt and all that, and teach about that kind of stuff, I could be a threat. Like, this is a warning for everybody. So let's check out the next video. This is Charlie Kirk assassination, and of course it's at AI Telly. So let's briefly look at this for just a second to get an idea of where the shooter was and what took place.
Position where the assassin had a clear line of sight from a building located about 430 feet away. The assassin squeezed the trigger, and a single bullet traveled this distance and struck Charlie Kirk right in the neck.
So 430 feet, which is well over 100 yards, 3 feet in a yard. And, he's got a decent distance, but not too bad, not that far. Just to give you an idea of where the actual shooter was at.
More detail all in the video ahead.
Okay, so they go into a lot of detail. I'm going to link this video in the description so you can check it out for yourself. I really want us to start paying attention to what is where this shooter was at, and do a little bit of detective work ourselves and consider, is it really a miracle? Is it really a miracle, or did this odd situation occur, and maybe because of possible details that we don't have our hands on that they do, which makes sense of the facts. Now let's look at Charlie Kirk assassination recreation ballistics dummy test by the Truth Desk here. He's got a smaller channel, but let's see what he's talking about. Don't tread on me flag, the whole nine, right? Let's see how he defends the idea that the standard narrative is false and there's no way this could have happened.
Today we're going to be recreating the assassination of Charlie Kirk with a ballistics dummy. I also made 4 ballistics necks out of ballistics gel and cow bone that we're going to shoot as well.
So real quick here, you got to understand, just being very cautious and careful with this. Every single detail matters. When you're investigating this kind of stuff, like cow bone, Is it the same density as the neck bone in a human? Is it the same density as Charlie Kirk's bones? Is it a perfect replica of what is going on? And then we have to get into the weapon and the ballistics, like the bullet itself, all sorts of details.
The purpose of this video is to poke holes in the FBI's official story that Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck by a 30-06. Anyone that's familiar with the cartridge knows that a 30-06 is an extremely devastating round, often ripping through elk, deer, and moose bones. Yet,
So yes, let me let me give you my dad's text here. Because Dad just, given his 2 insights, if you will. He says, this is why I couldn't give you a straight answer on the phone when I called him. Like, Dad, is this possible? He goes, Friday night. I don't think they even know what weapon was used, but in my opinion, there is no way a 30-06 would not go straight through a human neck, and almost everyone I know says the same thing. I hope you're feeling better, son. Love you. So Dad is even on the side of like, something isn't adding up. And I am, of course, very skeptical that we need to posit some alternative conspiracy hypothesis. Let me just say up front, that's possible. Something else, I don't know, right? No one knows. And everyone's doing detective work or having their own opinion about this stuff. But when you do have the FBI come out, when you do have the governor, when you do have family members who are speaking about this issue, and you have them saying that their son was really doing this and they're producing these text messages, sure, all of that could be planted. Everything could be invented, sure. But in my line of research that I do on ancient history, the best thing you can do historically as a historian is to go with the simplest, easiest, explainable position. What makes the best sense? And when you do all of that, a hunter will look at 30-06 and go, impossible. But is it really impossible? And I want the hunter and the skeptic, the person who's used to these weapons, to consider what I'm actually going to say today. And maybe they will also agree with what I'm saying. They go, actually, you're right. We don't know enough details about this. Maybe that is the case. Maybe this is the case. And so I want to give a push for the standard narrative, at least in the sense of saying, yeah, a 30-06 bullet went in. It killed him. It was no miracle. And yeah, it stopped in his body. Let's see.
Somehow, according to the FBI, Charlie Kirk's neck was able to stop that bullet, causing no exit wound. Keep in mind, human bones are weaker than deer, elk, and moose bone, and especially a human neck because by its very nature, it's flexible and not connected well. So to make this video even...
So there's a lot there. Not all bone is the same density. Not all humans have the same density of bone. Some have fragile, brittle bone, and some have a much more dense bone. Just depends on the human.
Better, I decided to go out and make some models of a human neck for us to shoot in addition to the ballistics dummy. To make these necks, I went to my local butcher and got some cow femur bone, which is much thicker, larger, and stronger than a human.
So if I can get a harder bone and use that as a point that when I go to shoot and it is obliterated, there's no way it's possible that Charlie Kirk could either. That's what this guy's selling you.
Neck bone. For a mold, I used 6-inch drain pipe, which by the way, the average human neck is 5 inches. I then cut it into 4 sections. Not sure why I didn't do this outside though. I then capped the pipe, sealing it with tape, and mixed up some good old ballistics gel on the stove, just like Mom used to make. After putting the bones in the pipe mold, I poured the ballistics gel over the bones and stuck them in the fridge to cure for 30 seconds.
So he's got gelatin bone in the fridge, ready to rock and roll. Let's see what else he's got here. Let's fast forward a little bit here because he's going to probably give more commentary. All right, here we go.
Outside this time, and screwed the bones inside the neck to the stands and let them chill in the fridge until the next morning. The next day I went down to the gun club that I joined to make this video at the 150-yard berm. I got some Federal Blue Box 180 grain soft point hunting ammo. Strangely, the FBI hasn't told us what kind of round Tyler Robinson was using, so this is what I picked up.
This is an important point, and this is one of the things I wanted to bring in. Is it a full metal jacket? Is it a hollow point? There's like several types of rounds that this ammunition could have been. Also, what condition was this ammunition stored in which Tyler Robinson had access to? Was it stored in good conditions? Was the ammunition stored in bad conditions? The weapon he's using was a World War I rifle, a World War One, very old. How powerful would a ancient World War One rifle be, 30-06, shooting a 30-06, compared to a modern 2025 rifle that shoots the same ammunition? Every detail must be factored in when you consider this, because every single event in history is unique. And yeah, there's a chance, right? So let's see what happens when he shoots this ammunition. Then we'll go to another guy who actually defends the standard narrative, who clearly, shoots guns too.
A standard hunting round. Now, some of you might say maybe he was using a full metal jacket round, or maybe he was using some sort of low powder subsonic round. That doesn't really make any sense. Why would you not go for a round that's going to give you the maximum amount of damage? Why would you go for a full metal jacket that's not going to make a large wound cavity? Why would
How do you know what he did? He may not have went and purchased them from the store. He may have had what Grandpa had, as this was his grandpa's gun. He may have just picked up the ammunition that they had. So any weapon, he's probably thinking any round's going to do the deal. I mean, I don't know a single 30-06 bullet that wouldn't finish him off. But you're already implying that the bullet has to explode the head, like as if Tyler Robinson's thinking, I need a head explosion here. I need a decapitation or something crazy. No, he is just trying to seal the deal and finish the job. You don't need to have this particular weapon, or this particular ammunition. This guy insists. Who's to know? I don't know those details. He doesn't know those details. So it's not like Tyler Robinson must have went, I'm going to go to the nearby gun range or the nearby, ammunition shop, and I'm going to purchase this particular one. We don't know. We don't know. He doesn't know. So we can make up all these who knows why and why wouldn't they do this, but we just don't know the situation.
you go for a castrated subsonic round because you're afraid of the recoil? That just doesn't make any sense. So
Actually, it makes plenty of sense to me that you wouldn't want too much of a noise. You can play these games. He could be like, yeah, you know what, Tyler could have been, I want the most damaging bullet. Or he could have been like, I do want to try and minimize sound because I'm going to try and get out of there. If he wasn't trying to escape, then why did he escape? If he wasn't attempting to do this and make it out scot-free, then why was he trying to get out of there alive without being captured?
Decided to use some standard hunting ammunition. This video is intended as educational and not to mock the death of Charlie Kirk. I got the
same here.
First two necks set up and then took the first shot. In slow motion, we can actually see that the bone not only didn't deflect the bullet, but it exploded into several pieces. Keep in mind, the FBI's official story is that Charlie Kirk's neck deflected the bullet down into his heart. Somehow.
I thought the coroner just said something about it was like underneath his chin, somewhere in his neck. I don't know if it went to the heart. I'm not sure. See how the details are so quickly, easily being mixed around?
Oh, I have a hard time believing that. Now let's take shot number 2. In slow motion, we can see I was slightly less accurate on this one, shooting it in the bottom right corner, sending it flying, spinning in the air, and knocking.
Okay, so we get the point. This guy, he's clearly, I'm just going to show you a little head here. He's obviously busting up some gelatin and cow bone, right? So again,
well, this time it looks like we got her basically dead on the money. Once we get down there and check that neck out, all 4 bones inside of there were completely broken in half. All right, guys, I'm going to apologize in advance because we're only going to have one camera angle for the dummy shooting. And that is because one of the phones that I was using to record.
Okay, we don't care.
Let's hope we don't miss.
That's a big-ass round. All right, so there we go, right? So that's a pretty effed up dummy right there. Let's see. And that didn't go out the back, but let's see. I don't see it.
Exactly happened here.
Okay, that's...
First, we're going to look at the difference between a 30-06 and a 5.56 round.
Not really interested in getting in on
air, and just look at that. It just destroys the water bottle. Now we're going to see a 5.56. Look at that. So that just shows you the difference between a 30-aught.
He's also like 30 feet away. But like, all right, let's see.
But he was just the absolute goat. He got all sorts of different firearms. He got AA-12s. He got mortars. He had all kinds of cool stuff. I really miss FPS Russia, but
again. Oh yeah.
It's about 40 pounds of ice in those buckets.
Let's try the other one.
Yeah, so you can see just what that does. Shows the devastation of the round a little bit more. Now here's a 30-06 versus a deer. I will just warn you, this is going to be graphic.
Okay, so let's just see what happens here.
A lot of people that have been claiming that they know the difference, claiming like they've been hunting before. So let's just check out what shooting a 30-06 at a deer does.
Okay,
Dude, you got her.
That deer's done, okay? Everyone said it's impossible, then a 30-06 bullet proved them wrong. And Trigger Smart, you go subscribe to these channels in the description if you're interested. Let's see what he has to say.
So just because I enjoy it, I'm going to play devil's advocate. So Stephen Gardner came out and said the FBI narrative is basically dead on. So I'm going to look at some alternative theories about the 30-06 bullet. So we have basically everyone, including myself, disagreeing that a 30-06 would not basically explode his neck or his head. If you ever watch hunting, you'll basically see right away that there's a pretty good exit wound with a 30-06 and other high power, high caliber rifles. We're going to explore that. So my goal by the end of this video is to prove that a 30-06 round can stay in the body of a human or an animal. Now that I have on my super sweet headphones, let's go ahead and watch this deer first. 30-06. Boom, drops instantly. And now we'll watch some ballistics gel. This is 30-06 hitting. No, that's the cavitation Colin higher speed camera. You can see how big that wound is. See that? That's what happens inside your body. It expands and destroys everything in this whole wound channel. So that would have been Charlie Kirk's neck. And then here we have kind of a montage.
Charlie Kirk was not shot with the 30-06, and here's why. As someone who's been hunting for 40 years, there's simply no way that the small amount of damage we saw in the video came from a 30-06.
So you can see here in this freeze frame, that was a ballistic dummy head. Exploded. This is what most people are expecting when a 30-06 would hit his neck or his head. That's why there's such a big argument against this 30-06 narrative.
Newsflash, if a 30-06 smashes into flesh, it will leave a massive exit wound. A 30-06 from 140 yards
Look at that.
would have simply torn his neck off.
So they're saying in this case with their test on meat, which is what most people do because obviously we have muscle and flesh, this is what it would look like in most cases.
Look at this massive exit wound from the shot we took with the 30-06. In my opinion,
this is why my dad was saying, hey, I don't see, you know, how it wouldn't have gone through him because it's some serious stuff. I mean, this is a different level of caliber. I mean, this is legit heavy duty stuff.
The exit wound was simply too small.
So, like many people say, he hunts and he sees these massive exit wounds on the animals. And now here we have somebody shooting another ballistic head. So this is the head with skull to simulate the human head and brain and tissue and everything else. Did you see that? Okay, so now again, this is why people are saying there is no way he was shot by a 30-06 or any other type of high-powered rifle of this type. And just to really drive the point home, this guy here is going to shoot a pork neck.
To stop. That's our close approximation to a deer neck. Well, to Charlie's neck. So, and again, for size reference, see what we got.
Wow.
So as you could see there, anything they've shot that is any type of tissue, any ballistic gel, dummies, all that stuff just explodes. That is why everyone's saying it cannot be a 30-06. It cannot be a high-powered rifle. But then you have a lot of other people saying it has to be a high-powered rifle or else there would be no cavitation. And in some of the pictures and videos, we've seen some cavitation, or at least it seems like we did. And then the necklace goes flying off. So unless the bullet hit the necklace, we wouldn't expect the necklace to fly off unless there was cavitation. Same with the shirt flying out. So to have cavitation, you have to have a high caliber rifle bullet moving fast enough to cause it. So it has to be a high caliber rifle. And as I was telling you before, many of the subscribers have told me that they've actually seen the bullet sit inside a deer, with 30-06 specifically, but also other calibers. So let's see what he says here. I've shot deer and antelope for 30 years. I've captured only 2 bullets from inside the many animals that I have shot. So in 30 years, this person has seen it twice. They shoot at the animal's shoulder, not the middle of the body, heart, lungs, the main center mass shots. Very muscled, very thick scapular leg bones. And of course, if a bullet should make it through the near shoulder, it has the other side to get through also. Of the 2 bullets I remember finding, the rear shoulder stopped the bullets after blowing through the scapula and hitting the upper leg, which is quite a large bone. So in this case, they're saying it's hit some major bones. It would hit the shoulder and severely slow down the velocity. And then when it goes through the rest of the body, then it would stop in the other bone that it hits as well. So that
This guy seems to know a thing or two. He's been hunting for a while.
makes sense. And then he says that he's seen a bullet go through both scapula and shatter thick leg bones and go on through the body. So he's seen both ends of the spectrum. He's seen a bullet stop inside of the body, and he's seen bullets go straight through bone and flesh and everything and go out the other side. And just like that other theory, he also says that, what about the possibility of like a 55 grain type bullet in a 30-06 shell going 4,000 feet per second? The light bullet being pushed that fast could do some bouncing around inside the body possibly and not create an exit wound. And then here we have another one. I just spent the last week at elk camp. While scouting for elk, I ran across a whitetail. 300 Weatherby shoots the same 308 caliber as a 30-06, but it's way more powerful. So this is more powerful than a 30-06. A 30-06 fires 180 grains at 2,700 feet. Weatherby fires 180 grains at 3,350 feet. Now, if you shoot, that's a drastic difference, significantly more velocity. He says it didn't cause very much visible external damage, but it dropped the deer instantly, not one step. There was just a clean entry wound the size of his pinky finger. Internally, it was very different. While cleaning it, all the blood vessels in the neck were jelly, and a gallon of blood was pooled in the chest cavity. So this kind of goes in line with what they said about Charlie Kirk. They said that basically his neck was destroyed, and it exploded his heart, basically. Hardly any blood was even on the ground. It was all internal. So all internal damage by this round that is significantly more powerful than a 30-06.
Damn, so a bullet even more powerful than a 30-06 remained in the body of an elk or deer, and yeah, it did all sorts of internal shit, but it did not have an exit wound. Look, I just wanted to go through these weeds here with you, because we could go on and on. There's another guy who carefully pointed out how old is the ammo, what kind of ammo, what actual kind of rifle, does that older World War I model rifle do the kind of damage that a modern contemporary high-powered rifle would do? There's so many factors that play a role. The angle that he was sitting, I hear, that his spine was tilted forward, and the way that the bullet hit, everything honestly matters. Everything. What kind of ammo, what kind of gun, how old, the condition of these things, and just the chance that sometimes bullets don't have exit wounds. If you're the point of going, it can't possibly have, it had to have exited, therefore miracle, or it must be a secret that someone else was involved that shot the bullet, and it couldn't be this guy on the roof, you're taking the very unlikely or less unlikely position, in my opinion. That's not to say that Tyler Robinson wasn't working with people. Clearly, I think he had probably people that he was communicating with about this. I don't know if they're probably researching and investigating to see if there was anyone there that was also part of what he was doing. But for sure, I don't rule out those possibilities. It's just there's some really weird conspiracies that go around, and I ask people to be more skeptical before you believe anything. Like, be a little more cautious. And they go, well, that's what we're doing with the FBI and the narrative. Look, I get that you're doing that, but it's like you're acting like this is impossible. And it is possible, even if it is unlikely. But is it really unlikely? we don't know the ammo. What if the ammo isn't as intense and as hard? What if that World War I rifle was very, very old and it didn't carry the kind of velocity and power that modern rifles carry? What if the ammunition wasn't stored properly? What if there's just so many things? Like, what if? And we ended up just seeing one of the situations the guy described with the deer. I'm sure this guy goes into a few more things, but I didn't want to really dwell too much on this, but to point out that, yeah, there are experts who fire weapons all the time who say that these things can happen and do happen. So, you understand why with the probability is more often that it has an exit wound, but it happens all the time in hunting situations. And my dad even had like the gut feeling going, in my opinion, there's no way the 30-06 would not go straight through a human neck. And almost everyone I know says the same thing. I agree, Dad. I agree. But you see what I'm saying about this is there's factors we don't know, and there's the chance that it could. So the best way I like to put things is things are the way they are. They happen the way they happen. And if there wasn't an exit wound, then maybe we have another explanation. Are they wrong about what kind of bullet shot Charlie Kirk? That's why they like to open up and go, no, he couldn't have shot it. Maybe that's the case. If it is a 30-06 that was shot and actually the bullet was that round and it didn't exit his body, then how do you explain it? And that goes back to the first video going, another miracle for Charlie Kirk that happened, that he saved other people's lives, but he died in front of everyone. Why do we bring up miracle? Charlie Kirk was assassinated and killed in front of all these people, and people pulling out the miracle card just seems so odd to me. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Look, I'm not an expert on the weapons and stuff. I wanted to give you a few different angles, but there's one thing for sure. If there's one takeaway for me, it's this. No miracle happened on that day, in my opinion, with Charlie Kirk. If a miracle happened, it would have stopped him from being killed. The bullet would have stopped right here midair. The bullet wouldn't have left. He would have been enabled to fire the shot. The fact that the dude dies and then, the bullet doesn't bounce out of his body and shoot someone else, that's a miracle? It just sounds ridiculous to me. What about to you? I'm curious. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified every time we react. Like it, share it. I can't wait to see us grow. Thank you for being part of the community, and until next time, see you there.